My sister announced her pregnancy at my daughter's birthday and said she needed her room. "You can buy another one," she said. My parents supported her, calling me selfish. So I emptied everything, sold the house, and when they came back with their boxes, they saw the "for sale" sign on the door. I'm Angela, 32 years old, and a single mother to my daughter Sophia, who just turned 1. Being a single mother is a daily battle. Sophia's father left when I was 6 months pregnant, leaving me with the bills, work, and the responsibility of raising my daughter alone. I'm an accountant at a small company, and every peso I earn is carefully considered before I spend it. But that day, Sophia's first birthday, was going to be special. I decorated the house with pink balloons, set up a table with sweets and a cake with a teddy bear that Sophia loves. I invited friends, neighbors, and my family. I wanted my little girl to have an unforgettable day. My house isn't big, but it's mine. I bought it with years of savings and a lot of effort. Sophia's room is what I cherish most. Light blue walls with clouds I painted myself, a crib I assembled with a tutorial, and a starry mobile. That's where I spend nights rocking her to sleep and mornings watching her laugh. It's our safe place. The party started well. The kids played in the backyard, the adults chatted, and Sophia was happy in my arms, trying to grab a balloon. Then my younger sister, Daniela, 25, arrived with her boyfriend, Marcos, a guy I've never liked. Daniela is the family's darling. My parents treat her like she's untouchable, while I've always been the responsible one, the one who fixes everything, the one who lends money when Daniela blows hers on ridiculous things like an expensive purse she bought without even having enough for rent. We were about to sing Happy Birthday to Sophia when Daniela stood up and said, "I have news." Everyone went quiet. I thought she might announce something useful like a new job, but no. "I'm pregnant," she blurted out with a huge smile. Marcos hugged her, and my parents stood up, clapping like it was the event of the year. The party turned into Daniela's show. No one looked at Sophia, no one sang, and the cake sat untouched. I tried not to get angry. "That's great, Danny," I said, forcing a smile. "But let's sing to Sophia now." But Daniela kept talking about her pregnancy, baby names, her plans. My parents egged her on, saying how amazing it was to have another grandchild. I felt a knot in my chest but swallowed it. I didn't want to ruin my daughter's day. When the party ended, I was in the kitchen washing dishes. Sophia was asleep in her crib. Daniela approached with that attitude of hers, like everything belongs to her. "Angela, we need to talk," she said, sitting down like she owned the place. My parents were in the living room and Marcos was outside smoking. "What's up?" I asked, not in the mood for her drama. "Since I'm pregnant, Marcos and I need a place to live. Your house is perfect. Sophia's room is big, ideal for the baby. Sophia's little. She can sleep in your room. Or I don't know, build another room. You have money, don't you?" I was stunned. Sophia's room, the one I painted with so much love, the one that's my daughter's world. "Danny, this is our house. There's no space for you and Sophia's room is hers," I said, trying not to yell. My parents walked in. My mom, with that look she uses to make me give in, said, "Angela, don't be selfish. Daniela's pregnant, she needs help. You've always been the strong one." My dad added, "It's just a room. Daniela doesn't have what you have." Selfish. Me. The one who's always been there for them, who lent them money when they needed it. I felt my blood boil. "No," I said. "It's not fair. It's Sophia's birthday, and you didn't even let her enjoy it. I'm not giving her room to anyone." Daniela rolled her eyes. "Oh, Angela, don't make a scene. It's just a room. If it bothers you so much, buy another house." My parents said nothing, just looked at me like I was the problem. That night, with Sophia asleep in my arms, I looked around the house. It was my home but also the place where my family made me feel invisible. I've always been the one who gives in, who sacrifices, but not anymore. If they thought they could walk all over me and Sophia, they were very wrong. The next day I called a real estate agent. I wanted to sell the house fast. I didn't tell my parents or Daniela. For weeks, while they planned to move into my house, I started packing. I sold furniture, donated some, and left the rest on the curb with a free sign. The agent found a buyer in less than a month, a young couple with no kids. I signed the papers, left the house empty, and put a for sale sign on the door. Hurt. That house was where Sophia took her first steps, where I learned to be a mother. But I couldn't stay in a place where my family treated me like I didn't matter. I moved with Sophia to a small apartment across the city. The day Daniela and Marcos arrived with their boxes, I was already gone. I imagined the scene, them getting out of the car, seeing the for sale sign, the boxes on the curb, the furniture with the free sign. That night my phone rang. It was Daniela. I answered, though I didn't want to. "Angela, what did you do?" she screamed, her voice trembling with rage. "You sold the house. You're so selfish. I'm pregnant. I needed that room." I took a deep breath. "Danny, I'm not going to keep giving in. That was my house, Sophia's house. It wasn't your right to take it." My parents got on the call, all talking at once. My mom was crying. "How could you do this to your sister? She's your family." My dad added, "You've always been the responsible one, Angela. This isn't like you." "Exactly," I said. "I've always been the responsible one, and for the first time I'm being responsible for myself and my daughter." Hung up. I didn't feel the need to explain further. I had chosen Sophia and myself, and that was enough. I hung up the phone and stared at the screen, my heart pounding. Sophia was asleep in her new crib in our small apartment across the city. The place wasn't much. A living room with a used sofa, a kitchen where a small table barely fit, and a room where Sophia and I shared the space. It wasn't the house I bought with so much effort, but it was our fresh start. For the first time in a long time I felt like I could breathe. Selling the house was hard but also liberating. I had chosen Sophia and myself, and that was enough. The following days were chaos. Daniela and my parents kept calling. My mom left tearful messages, saying I was destroying the family. Daniela alternated between angry screams and pleas, saying she had nowhere to live, that Marcos was stressed, and it was all my fault. I stopped answering after a couple of days. I was tired of being the one who always fixes everyone else's problems. For the first time I put myself and my daughter first. The apartment was small, but I made it ours. I stuck glow-in-the-dark stars on the bedroom ceiling so Sophia had something to look at before bed. I bought a colorful rug for the living room and hung photos of us together. At work, I focused on my projects, and though adjusting to the new routine wasn't easy, I felt like I was building something new. Sophia was happy, crawling on the floor and laughing when we played. That's what mattered. A few weeks later, a mutual friend told me Marcos had left Daniela. The pressure of not having a place to live and fights with my parents made him bail. Daniela moved in with my parents, to their old cluttered house where there was no room for a baby. The friend said Daniela was devastated, crying all the time and blaming me for everything. I felt a pang of guilt but pushed it aside quickly. Daniela had always lived depending on others, expecting them to fix her life. It wasn't my responsibility to carry her choices. One morning while feeding Sophia breakfast, my mom called. I answered, though I didn't want to. "Angela, you have to come," she said, her voice trembling. "Daniela's in a bad place. She lost the baby." I felt a knot in my stomach. I wasn't entirely surprised. I knew Daniela was in a rough emotional state, but hearing it was like a punch. "The doctor said it was because of stress," my mom continued. "She's broken, Angela, and she says it's because of you, because of what you did with the house." I hung up without saying anything. I sat on the floor with Sophia playing beside me, trying to process it. Part of me felt sorry for Daniela. Losing a baby is awful, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. But another part, the one tired of being the villain, refused to take on that guilt. I hadn't caused her loss. Daniela had spent years living without thinking about consequences, expecting everyone to fix things for her. And now, when things got tough, they all pointed at me. That same week, Daniela called, her voice a mess of tears and anger. "You did this, Angela," she said. "If you hadn't sold the house, none of this would have happened. It was my baby, And I lost it because of your selfishness. I tried to stay calm. Danny, I'm so sorry for what happened, I said. But you can't blame me. The house was mine. It wasn't your right to take it. She screamed something else, but I hung up. I didn't have the strength to keep fighting. The following days were heavy. My parents and Daniela started a campaign to make me feel like the worst person in the world. My mom sent messages saying she never thought her daughter could be so cruel. My dad, usually quieter, left a voicemail saying he was disappointed. Daniela, meanwhile, started telling her version to everyone. A neighbor told me Daniela was saying I'd left her on the street, and that's why she lost the baby. Some mutual friends started looking at me strangely, like I was the villain. The worst came when I received a letter from a lawyer. Daniela, with my parents' support, wanted to sue me, claiming my emotional negligence, and the sale of the house caused her miscarriage. I read the papers and almost laughed at how ridiculous it was. Seriously, they thought they could legally blame me for that. I called a friend who's a lawyer, and he told me not to worry. No one can sue you for selling your own house, he said, and certainly not for something as subjective as someone else's stress. He told me to ignore it, but it still hurt that my family would go that far. One afternoon, while walking with Sophia in the park, I ran into my Aunt Laura, the only family member who's always been impartial. She invited me for coffee and we talked. I told her everything. The party, Daniela's demand, the house sale, the lawsuit. Laura sighed and said, "Angela, you've always been the one who carries everything, but this time you went too far. Not for selling the house, that was your right. But Daniela's destroyed, and your parents are blinded by her pain. Maybe you should talk to them, even if just to close this wound." Her words stuck with me. I didn't want to give in, to go back to being the one who fixes everything, but I also felt a knot in my stomach when I thought about Daniela. Losing a baby isn't something you get over easily, and though I didn't believe it was my fault, I couldn't help feeling a bit of compassion. I decided to do something, not because I felt guilty but because I wanted to close this chapter and move on with my life. A week later, I went to my parents' house. I didn't warn them. I just knocked on the door. My mom opened it, her face shifting from surprise to anger in a second. "Angela, what are you doing here?" she said. Daniela was in the living room on the couch, her eyes swollen. My dad was beside her, looking at me like he didn't know me. "I'm not here to fight," I said. "I came to say I'm sorry for what happened, Danny. Not for selling my house, that was my decision, but I'm sorry you lost the baby. No one deserves that." Daniela looked at me, tears streaming down her face. "Don't tell me you're sorry," she said, her voice breaking. "You did this." My parents didn't speak, just looked at me with reproach. I pulled an envelope from my bag. "There's some money here," I said. "It's not much, but it's for you to start over, Danny. To find a place, a job, whatever you need. I'm not doing this because I feel guilty, but because you're my sister, and I don't want you to sink." I left the envelope on the table and walked out. I didn't wait for a response. I knew it wouldn't change what they thought of me, but at least I'd done what felt right. When I left, I felt immense relief. It wasn't a perfect solution, and I knew my family would still resent me, but for the first time I felt I'd set a boundary. I'd helped Daniela, but not at the cost of myself or Sophia. I returned to the apartment, hugged my daughter, and promised myself I'd never again let anyone make me feel less than I'm worth. Daniela's lawsuit was still looming, but my lawyer friend said it wouldn't go anywhere. Meanwhile, Laura told me Daniela was trying to get back on her feet. She'd gotten a job at a store and was looking for a place to rent. I didn't know if she used the money I gave her, and I didn't care. What mattered was that I was focused on my life with Sophia. The apartment felt more like home every day, with our little routines. Breakfasts filled with laughter, nights reading stories, park walks. But deep down, I knew this story with my family wasn't over. Something told me there was more to come. A couple of months passed, and life seemed to find its rhythm. I got a promotion at work, which meant a bit more money and less stress about bills. Sophia started taking her first wobbly steps, and every time she fell and laughed, my heart swelled. The apartment, though small, was our sanctuary. I'd bought a moon-shaped lamp for Sophia's room, and every night before bed, I told her stories about the stars glowing on the ceiling. It was our simple life, ours, and that made me happy. One afternoon, while grocery shopping for dinner, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost ignored it but answered. It was Daniela. Her voice sounded different, calmer though still tinged with sadness. "Angela, I need to see you," she said. "Not to fight. I just want to talk." I hesitated. The last time we spoke, she'd blamed me for everything. But something in her tone made me agree. I told her she could come to the apartment that night. When she arrived, I was surprised by how different she looked. Thinner with dark circles, but there was something in her eyes that wasn't the usual Daniela, the one who always demanded without giving back. She sat on the couch and Sophia, playing with blocks, looked at her curiously. "She's big," Daniela said with a faint smile. I nodded, unsure what to expect. "I want to apologize," she said, looking at the floor. "For everything. For the party, for the room, for blaming you for what happened." Her voice broke, and I knew she was talking about the miscarriage. I was angry, lost, and it was easier to blame you than to accept I had nothing under control. I stayed quiet, waiting. I wasn't sure I wanted to hear more, but I didn't want to interrupt her either. "When Marcos left, and then the baby thing, I fell apart," she continued. "And Mom and Dad didn't help. They've always treated me like I can't fend for myself, and I believed it. But when you sold the house, I realized I couldn't keep expecting you, or them, or anyone to fix my life." She paused, and for the first time in years, I saw my sister not as the spoiled kid but as someone trying to understand herself. "I used the money you gave me," she said. "I rented a small room, and I'm working at a store. It's not much, but it's a start. And I'm going to therapy. I want to change, Angela. I don't want to be the person who always asks you for things without giving anything back." I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to believe her, but another part, the one that had carried years of her demands, was cautious. "I'm glad you're trying, Danny," I said finally. "But what happened at the party, the room, that hurt. Not just me but Sophia too. It was her day." Daniela nodded, tears in her eyes. "I know, and I'm sorry. I can't change what I did, but I want to try going forward." It wasn't a magical reconciliation. We didn't hug or cry together like in a movie, but it was a step. I offered her coffee, and we talked a bit more. About simple things, her job, Sophia's first steps, the weather. When she left, she made me think. For the first time I saw Daniela as someone who could change, even if little by little. But I also knew I couldn't let my guard down completely. I'd learned to protect my peace, and I wouldn't let anyone, not even my sister, put it at risk again. A few days later, my lawyer friend called to say Daniela had dropped the lawsuit. "I don't know what happened," he said, "but their lawyer said they didn't want to pursue it." I assumed it was part of Daniela's attempt to start over. My parents, however, remained distant. Laura said they were angry but also confused. They'd always seen Daniela as the fragile one and me as the strong one, and my decision to sell the house had shattered their worldview. They didn't call and I didn't reach out. I needed space and so did they. Over time I started letting go of the resentment. It wasn't easy. Every time I remembered Sophia's party or Daniela's accusations, I felt a stab of anger. But I also realized holding on to it wasn't letting me move forward. I focused on what I had. My daughter, my job, our little life in the apartment. I started going out more with friends, taking Sophia to baby music classes, enjoying the small moments. I even painted a mural on the living room wall, a sky full of clouds like the one in Sophia's old room. It wasn't the same, but it was ours. One day, while at the park with Sophia, I got a message from Daniela. It was a photo of a cake with a teddy bear like the one at Sophia's party. "For her next birthday," she wrote. "If you invite me, I promise not to steal the show." I smiled but didn't reply right away. It was a small gesture, but it meant something. Maybe Daniela was changing, or maybe she was just trying to ease her conscience. I didn't know, but I decided to give her the benefit of the doubt. Months passed, and Daniela and I started talking a bit more. Not like before, but carefully, like we were learning to know each other again. She kept working, saving for a bigger place. My parents slowly started sending messages. Nothing deep, just things like, "How's Sophia?" Or, "I saw you in a park photo." I wasn't ready to be the close-knit family of before, but I didn't want to close the door completely either. I'd learned that family doesn't mean giving everything up, but finding a balance where everyone respects boundaries. Sophia turned 2, and this time the party was simple, at the apartment. I invited a couple of friends, Laura, and after much thought, Daniela. I didn't invite my parents, not because I was angry, but because I needed things to go slowly. Daniela arrived with a gift for Sophia, a teddy bear that my daughter hugged like it was her new best friend. She didn't announce anything, didn't ask for anything, just sat, ate cake and played with Sophia. When she left, she gave me a quick hug and said, "Thanks for inviting me." I didn't say anything, but I felt something healing, even just a little. Looking back, selling the house was the hardest thing I've done. Not just because of the memories, but because it meant breaking with the idea that I always had to sacrifice everything for others. But it was also the best thing. It gave me the freedom to choose my path, to put Sophia first, to learn that my worth doesn't depend on what others expect of me. Daniela and I aren't perfect sisters, and maybe we never will be. My parents and I have a lot to work on. But I'm at peace with that. I have Sophia, I have my home, and I have the certainty that, no matter what happens, I can build a life worth living.